Today I want to talk about several topics that affect my website, your website, other websites, solutions you may want to deploy, some things I call experiments. Welcome to TQA Weekly. I'm your host, Steve Smith, aka Z-Axis, and today we'll be talking about the presentation of information, advertising schemes, piracy, search engines and search engine results, and Easter egg that I'll be giving you for a contribution or donation or whatever at the end of the show, and next week's topic. So let's start from the top, the presentation of information on a website. So about 20 years ago, we were using static HTML 1.0 on Internet Explorer and Netscape, the predecessor to Firefox, by the way. And basically, we were capable of getting away with just using static pages because RDF, or the RSS XML standard, didn't exist, YouTube didn't exist, Wikipedia didn't exist, Google didn't exist. Basically, hey, even MySpace didn't exist. That's how long ago that was. And we were allowing ourselves to be connected by things called web rings, and we were getting people to get to our web pages through certain types of search engines that you may not know of. But we were able to have less contents, statically generated, accessible by people who had computers. Today has changed. We have RSS feeds, XML, CSS, which is not necessarily as loaded as XML or RSS, and our content is deployed all over the place with the help of flat file databases or things like MySQL, or in some cases people are still doing it manually, which for the most part I do too, but I'm currently fixing that. I just generated my new MySQL-based RSS feeds that limit to 50 episodes, and they're already online as we speak. They've been online for the last 24 hours without a bug yet. It's like, phew, no bugs yet. Tell me if you see a bug, but there shouldn't be any bug because it's generating the RSS feed automatically as opposed to whatever it does. This allows us for something that we have never seen before. Flat file databases are accessible to everybody, which means if you had user account information, shame on you, you shouldn't have it in there. It would be visible to the whole world. Then we have MySQL, which is a different beast. First bug that I found is the fact that if you use an SQL injection attack, which means the person that made the code that injects the code that is required to pull the data didn't sanitize his code, and you got the information, you just basically got everybody's information. Of course, this does require that you know what the table name is, and I decide my table names based on a dice spinning on the floor. We put it this way: injection attacks become an issue for websites today that we didn't even have issues with back then 20 years ago. Then flat file databases, of course, are not programs. You can't run anything in them. Our 3D databases, you can. Then there is the whole thing of having to protect user information inside there. You can encrypt the information. Here's the catch-22. Just like you can encrypt your computer, all that information is held within memory. And in our case, it's also loaded from code inside each of the pages that require information from this, which means we are basically making it possible for a delinquent employee or someone to access the page and just strip out the username, password, database names, table codes, and all that. So, I mean, don't go all freaking out right now and start running to your databases and start deleting them from basically existence. If somebody in a business actually did get a hold of your database, well, they're probably going to get fired. And the other thing is you should be hashing with salt your passwords anyway. So that is one thing I will talk in a future episode. But that is basically how the world changed. We are now using RSS feeds databases to generate dynamic pages. We didn't use this 20 years ago. Now, advertising schemes. This is something that I'm constantly looking at. On one hand, we all hate advertisements, and I'm pretty sure you do. On the other hand, though, they pay my hosting, my equipment, my software, basically everything. So it's a love-hate relationship. We love the cash. We hate the advertisers. And not, I don't necessarily hate the advertisers. I mean, I hate the idea of having to have advertisers in order to generate the income that is required to make this show. Most of the income that I use to generate this show, though, comes from my 40-hour-a-week job. So don't be too worried about me there. Now, here's the thing. I've been playing with this idea, and I want to know what you think, because it is one of my experiments, and one of the sets of code I will be making available, one of the Easter eggs I'll be talking about them. Would you be willing, if on any website, where they had content you're interested in, to pay a nominal fee, let's say $5 a month, which comes out to $1.25 an episode in my case? Would you be willing to pay for that if it meant you didn't see any advertisements whatsoever? In my case, no right bar, no info links on any of the text, none of that. I mean, I can't remove it from the videos themselves, but you can always download the MP4 version. And most browsers will just load it in the browser and you can watch it apart. But for the text content, for the actual universe of what that website is, would you be interested in the idea of never having to see a single advertisement ever again on the webpage if it meant that you only have to pay, in my case, $5 a month, or in my case I was putting it out to $50 a year, so 2 months free? Is that something you'd be more interested in than having advertisings all over the web pages? Basically, they're bothering you. And let's get this all through straight. You are consuming exactly the same content you would have been if you had the advertising. Is this something people right now are ready for? This is what I'm interested in. Are you ready for this? Just write it down below. Write it at the bottom of the show notes page if you want. Are you ready for this kind of idea? Where now you voluntarily pay for a service so that you don't see the advertising. Because for the most part, it is an either or situation. Either we have advertisements, pay our hosting, or somebody pays us so that we can pay our hosting. And a lot of us would be willing to part with our advertisers if it meant you, the listener, helped out with the show. And if we get it down here, in my case, to pay the show, I only need 2 subscribers per month, maybe 3 to cover the domain payments for the domain names. So it wouldn't even be that much at the end of the year that would pay off the whole website all by itself. We're talking about, in some cases, just a few simple people just paying for their websites. Is that an idea that people are willing to go through? Which brings me to another interesting issue, which is piracy. And I'm not talking about movies. I'm not talking about music, even though I have both because I'm doing video podcasts with audio. And we're all tired of hearing of them because literally they haven't calculated the actual damages. But when it comes to websites, I got this theoretical point of view on this. It is that I am 99% sure that people who have ad blockers don't click ads anyway. They're just annoyed at the ads. They don't click on them. They don't want to see them. It's gone. They don't want it. But it is theoretically consuming without paying. And this is how it's explained. Consuming the content, is reading or watching a video, is basically an act of getting the product. And the advertisement, even though you don't click on it, is there to help pay for this content. Much like during live TV, I'm not talking about pre-recorded, I'm talking about live TV, you still have the advertisement there. You can't just skip over in live TV and go to the future. So this is this thing. Now, Why am I 99 and not 100% sure? It's because I'm pretty sure someone somewhere installed an ad blocker on a computer of a person that would have clicked on the ads if given the choice. And this is why we can call it piracy. Because they're now consuming content they would have paid for but can't and aren't doing so whatsoever. What do you think of this? Do you believe that using an advertisement blocker is a form of piracy? And how about this? Do not track. This is probably a feature some of you have not heard about yet. Is an optional form of technology that even the servers have the option of installing. By the way, Twitter is one of those that has it installed. If that were to work, would you drop the advertisement blocker if you are an advertisement blocker software user? If you knew the advertisers did not track you whatsoever. Now, there are ways of blocking them anyway, like blocking third-party cookies. This makes it impossible for them to really track you in the same sense as some others. But at the end of the day, would you drop that software if you were not tracked? And are you interested in just paying for the content as opposed to seeing them and having to use the software in the first place? And the last topic of the day, search engine and search engine results. Go to my website, and most websites, you'll have a Google search engine option, in my case, top right corner of TQAweekly.com. And this brings you to Google, which brings you back to my website, but you've seen ads that have nothing to do with me, that are there because I'm using their service, but that don't generate revenue for me. This is something that I'm pretty sure a lot of us are not liking. It's a cool tool. I'll show you how to use it on websites that don't have search engines next week. But in my case, I decided I was going to make my own search engine, and I decided to come out with my own feature set that does include specific things. One, the ability to search by category, which is important on my website since I do talk about different contents in technology from many different categories. And then here's the other one. The ability to subscribe to the feed of the search results for the episodes that match the search results that only come in the future. Is that a cool feature for you? Or does it freak you out? Now, I'm talking about you're interested in Linux, you type in Linux, you get a bunch of episodes of Linux. You subscribe to the show, but you only want the Linux episodes. So you search for what you're specifically interested in. Let's say you're interested in Ubuntu Linux only. So you want to be specific. And you subscribe to the feed. Next time I make an Ubuntu Linux episode, it shows up in your iTunes feed as part of your previous search results. Obviously, this is an optional thing. It's not going to be forced down your throat. But is this a feature that you like? I am curious about this because it is something I'm going to be deploying in the next few weeks. And it is something that I've toyed around with before. I've already made search engines before. And the idea is that it's only based on the content the user is giving the viewers. So I'm just wondering if you're interested in that, because that is basically what's coming up. As an Easter egg treat, I will be giving the code out for the RSS feeds, for the dynamic changing or pulling of data from the MySQL database, the search engine, and of course the user access module. You'll be able to contribute to have the code. Next week I'll be basically dabbling in the idea of using Google to search websites that don't have the search option installed in the code, and I'll even give you the HTML code so that you can use it on your website, or give it to that user so that they can use it on their website. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to TQA Weekly for more information like show notes, how to join our mailing list, get your own TQA Weekly gear and apparel, or have our Android application. Please visit tqaweekly.com. Have a great day, stay safe and online. Till next time.